everyone, this is Business Day right here on ET Now. I'm Avan Dabash. A quick check as to how the markets panned out today. Well, it was a tight range for the benchmark indices for the second day on the chart. Though we did manage to outperform our global peers, we saw support at 52.50 and managed to end well above that level. Reliance Industries provided quite a bit of support and it was decent volumes by the end of the session. Notable to point out that, of course, the broader markets did see good traction in today's session. 52.74 for the Nifty, 17,440, that's where the Sensex shut sharp. We get you all the top stories after the headlines. The CBI registers 5 cases in the coal allocation scam and also conducts searches across 30 premises of the owners of some companies that were allocated mining licenses. The Anil Ambani rules the high price of 2G spectrum, which he says is twice the market capitalization of Reliance Communications. He also says mobile tariffs will shoot up because of the high 2G spectrum price. Tech Mahindra buys Hutchison's India BPO unit for a little over $87 million. The deal comes with assured business from Hutch worth around $845 million over the next 5 years. The fate of Deccan Chargers hangs in balance. The Cricket Board of India will decide Deccan's continuation in the IPL today. The meeting comes against the backdrop of dwindling finances of the team's promoters, the Reddys of Hyderabad. Placement season kicks off on a lackluster note. Tech majors, which are hit by the global slowdown, are likely to go slow on campus hiring this time around. So a fairly lackluster session, but by the afternoon is when you saw a lot of activity pick up, and by the end of the day we managed to end close to the high point of the day, firmly in the green and above 52.50. For the broader markets too, what a show it was. We finally saw quite a bit of outperformance by the end of the session. So for the mid as well as the small cap index, it was a good gain of just about 0.5%. To some of the sectoral movers, it was real estate, oil and gas, as well as the power sectors. In fact, most of them, by the end of the day, in tandem with the way the entire market moved up, did see a lot of buying activity. But you had pharma, which was a bit of a soft spot. Remember, that index has been outperforming of late. Index gainers, some of the losers of yesterday featured on the gaining list today. GAIL India, Jindal Steel and Power. Reliance Industries certainly did its bit by providing quite a bit of support to the index. 779.6 is where it shut sharp, as well as Jayaprakash Associates. To some of the stocks in news today, and the first one being the entire ADAG pack, which was in focus. You had Anil Ambani at the annual general meeting today who slammed the government's decision to auction 2G spectrum at high prices. At the RCOM annual general meeting, he said the value of spectrum was twice that of the market capitalization of Reliance Communications and would only push up mobile tariffs. The company has said that it will attempt to list its undersea cable arm in Singapore only once market conditions improve. Reliance Communication also hopes to bring down its 35,000 crore rupee debt over the next 3 years. Let's hear it out from the man himself.
The telecom sector is important to the overall economic growth of our country. It contributes to the government's exchequer by way of license fees and spectrum charges. And it's important for the government to protect its revenue. But it's equally important to create a balance to ensure that the full growth potential is realized by the industry in the favor of 1 billion Indians. Going forward, shareholders, we are committed to unlock value and pursuing several initiatives to reduce our overall debt. At an appropriate stage in 2013 is to unlock value, as I've said earlier, from Reliance Infratech, to pursue the Reliance Flag Telecom listing on the Singapore Exchange, again using the entire proceeds to pay down debt.
So you had Anil Ambani there laying out a plan that he called a 4-pronged strategy in order to reduce the company's debt. Mohit Bhalla, who's been covering that meeting, now joins in with the latest details. Mohit.
Key highlights from Reliance Communications and what Mr. Anil Ambani said during the AGM was essentially that the company is looking at reducing debt dramatically. That is, of course, the big concern for Reliance Communications, sitting at over 5.5 times EBITDA of debt. Clearly, that's been a huge factor of discomfort for them. Mr. Ambani highlighting a four-pronged strategy to really cut debt significantly over the next couple of years. Amongst that, he highlighted a couple of things. One, of course, that by FY13, they would have a clear strategy on how to unlock value from Reliance Infratel, which is the tower arm of the company. That, of course, is something that they were looking to sell out to private equity investors, but the deal didn't materialize. Mr. Ambani clarifying that, of course, once guidelines on auction of 2G spectrum are clear, they will be able to, in fact, go ahead and decide on their value unlocking strategy for Reliance Infratel. He also highlighted that the plan to list Flag Telecom in Singapore is still on the table, and of course they will go ahead with it when market conditions are more suitable. He's also talked about the fact that that in general the economy as a whole has slowed down, and that has of course had an impact across businesses. But more importantly, as far as the telecom sector is concerned, he feels while the government should protect revenue, at the same time it can't make it unviable for telecom operators to operate. And he's also talked about tariffs, and that was one of the key issues, saying that he sees tariffs rising in the medium to long term, given the fact that spectrum is being priced this aggressively by the government. But clearly, debt has been a key issue, and that was the focus area really for him as well during this AGM, giving guidance in terms of what that debt level should be, and of course also assuring shareholders that by 2014, FY14, the company will actually look to reduce its debt levels to about 3 times EBITDA as opposed to the existing 5.5 times EBITDA.
Okay, debt reduction was clearly the key focal point for Reliance Communications. Let's get in a quick status check as to how all of the stock prices panned out. Very well indeed for Reliance Capital, also a notch up of a good 3.5%. You had Reliance Power as well as the other stocks which did very well in the session. To InSwift Laboratories, then that counter shot up a good 12%, as did Piramal Healthcare, on reports that the company is in talks with InSwift Laboratories to acquire their contract research and manufacturing business for a deal valued at 1,200 crore rupees. But InSwift did come out and clarify that there is no discussion in progress to sell the company. But nonetheless, the stock price remained unabated, higher by close to 11%. Kingfisher Airlines, a very small base, but nonetheless you saw a big move coming in as Vijay Mallya gave 5,904 crore rupee guarantee to the Kingfisher Airline lenders, according to reports. Escomars was beaten down and may remain under pressure on the SFIO investigating issues relating to misrepresentation in their corporate reporting and a lot of violation of various sections of the Companies Act. Apart from that, you had Aban Offshore. That counter reacted to quite a bit of buzz that has been doing the rounds, that it is selling its thermal power project division to Nuzi Vidu Power in an all-cash deal seen worth 720 crore rupees. The management has not clarified, but the stock price nonetheless higher by 7.3%. Blue Dart suffered in today's session, off by close to 12%, as DHL will bring down its stake in the company from an earlier 81% to 75% in order to comply with the minimum shareholding requirements. Apart from that, you had the F&O activity, in fact, which let's get in Navneet Saluja, who points out how that panned out for today, given that it was a fairly lackluster session. Navneet.
That's right, Avan, but we did manage to close in positive today. So you had the September futures closing above that 5,300 mark with premium of about 29 points, and we saw a built-up of close to 8 lakh shares. Well, if you look at the participation, it was not much. We did only about over 70,000 crore of turnover on NSE, and if you look at the options data, the most active strikes during the day were 5,300 call and 5,300 put. So an important level to watch out in cash would be 5,300, whether the market touches that level tomorrow. But the Nifty PCI, that still remains below the level of 1. It is still at 0.91. A lot of build-up was seen. If you look at strikes like right from 5,300 to 5,600 call strikes, huge amount of open interest build-up was seen. And on the put side, you had 5,100, which added the maximum 6 lakh shares. On the stock futures front, a lot of Nifty gainers today. You had GAIL, JSPL, JP Associates and Tata Motors, where fresh long positions were seen. On the short side, you had IDFC and HDFC, where shorts were being built up. From the mid-cap space, it was Aban Offshore actually which was up and about in today's trading session. Along with that, you had Dish TV and Syntex, where long positions were being built up. On the short side, you had Escomars and OFSs, where fresh shorts were being built up in today's trading session.
Okay, thanks very much, Navneet, for giving us those details. To some of the other stocks in news, it was the entire media basket which did very well for itself, so the likes of Den Networks, Dish TV, Zee Entertainment, as well as Hathway. You had UBS, which came out with the report and increased the target price on most of these counters. Torrent Power, there was a block deal in the early morning. 29.9 lakh shares traded at an average of 153 rupees per share on the BSE, and the counter has remained up and about ever since. Hero MotoCorp also in the limelight on the upside. The Abans Group has also entered a pact with the company to sell two-wheelers in Sri Lanka, and the company will soon begin exports to Latin America and Africa as well. Some of the index losers today, you had IDFC, which was soft, as was HDFC, and Cipla too featured on that list.